something, but I don't know what it is.
Record the show?
Yeah, I got the audio's recording.
It's time for Dart Talk. Brought to you by thedartzone.com. Stay in the zone. Thedartzone.com is an official Cosmo distributor and Windy City Fabricators, America's premier fabricators of orthotics and prosthetics, and Redwood Darts, America's newest tungsten darts. Stand straight and tall and hit them all. Redwood Darts. And now, here are your hosts, Mystery Mark and Steve P.
Okay, welcome to Dart Talk.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. Steve Johnson with Mystery Mark.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, okay. Oh my God, somebody can see you.
I'm not ready.
Now you're Mystery Mark. Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor also.
Need to edit that out of the show.
It's a rough beginning.
It's too busy watching baseball.
Dart Talk brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone. We did that already.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. You've kind of blown my mind already,
know.
and the show's like 30 seconds old. I'm taking one for the team. My back went out.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm having a
You're
hard
hobbling
time.
around like an 80-year-old man.
Yeah, and I'm actually better than I was yesterday.
Yeah.
So I'm very uncomfortable just kind of sitting here like this. Like my back is locking up like when we played golf at Princeville. I mean, it's kind of painful, but I don't have to swing anything.
Yeah, you dropped the wing nut on the floor setting up the sail here, and it was painful to watch you have to pick it up.
Yeah, it was sort of like taking your ball out of the hole when you're 90.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes a little time.
No, that's why they have that little suction cup at the end of their putter. They just flip over.
Yeah, I'm never going to do that. I'm not going to get a little magnet thing to pick up my dart when it's on the floor. I'm not going there. It's like when I can't pick up my dart, then, it's time to hang it up or, get better boards.
Yeah.
I don't know. So we got a lot to get to. There was a judgment night last week at the Betway.
There was.
So say bye-bye to the underachievers, I think it's fair to say. I wouldn't call
Would you like
Deadwood.
to disclaim anything before you
Yeah,
say
why don't
stuff
we
like
do that? Why don't we disclaim?
The views, opinions, rants, and rampages expressed on Dart Talk do not necessarily reflect individually or collectively those of our sponsors, co-sponsors, wannabe hosts, hearing-impaired critics, or those with a penchant for attitudinal dysfunction. We at Dart Talk strive to provide you, the listener, with an educational, entertaining, and fun-filled experience each and every week. If after the show you, the listener, find yourself feeling uneducated, unentertained, and/or bored,
we at Dart Talk consider that your own problem. Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, you're having all sorts of issues over there. See, the pregame fist fight that consists of you watching game casts of a Sox game is not the way to prepare for the show. I'm just saying. But they tied it up.
They did tie it up, but yeah.
Cubs won today. I was happy about that.
So you said.
Well, I'm just irritated with everything today. I'm like Mr. Cranky. So,
I've also spent a lot of time on Facebook over the last 2 days, which usually never happens.
Really? You were on Facebook?
Yeah, well, because of our background here.
Oh yeah. Okay. I was going to say you picked out the background this
I would
week.
like to send out our condolences to the family members of the 7 people that died in a tragic plane crash in Bloomington Normal on Tuesday morning. One of them, my boss for over 10 years, a friend for longer than that, the co-owner of the pub too. There tragically was one of the passengers along with people involved with the ISU athletic department and stuff like that. And it's very sad, and got a lot of friends still down there, and so there's been a lot of communication going around, and a lot of heartfelt sincerities and everything, good words about him, and he was a great man, and it's just too bad.
That's, social media, that's one of the nice things about it is, you can kind of keep in touch with people a little better. Not that I've been on there lately.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with the dart stuff, there's just too many politics and stuff, and it kind of drove me away. But I mean, it's kind of nice that now you were.
It's where I first started playing darts, by the way. Is at this bar I worked at it, and they had. I mean, it was plastic tip, but that's where we've talked about. I played darts and played for drinks and shots and got good and played with good players and ended up joining leagues and basically got my start right there in plastic tip in Normal, Illinois.
Yeah, and he was one of the passengers was the owner of the bar there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad. And then you were going to college down there,
right?
At Illinois State.
Yeah, and I ended up living there for 14 years total.
Right. That was all before I met you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't meet you until you moved back up here.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I actually never threw a steel tip dart until I moved up here. It was all plastic tip, and next thing you know, came up here and
Chicago steel. Chicago is a steel town, no question. Yeah, it's sad, and they don't know what happened as far as like with the plane crash.
It's going to be a long process till they figure it out. But yeah, there's really no speculation. It was dense fog. That's pretty much probably the ultimate factor.
Yeah, I mean, and we were talking before the show because I've got GA experience, general aviation experience, and 95 times out of 100, it's like you're in instrument conditions. And I don't know, who was flying, if he was instrument rated or not, but most of the crashes,
right,
come from VFR pilots getting caught in IFR.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, everybody, he was an experienced pilot, but like you said, nobody knows to what experience and
fog is tough. I mean, if you're not instrument rated and a good instrument pilot, some people kind of check the boxes and get their instrument rating, but then they don't stay current.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're flying VFR, everything's fine, you're having a good time. They were coming back from the Final Four. It was like the assistant head coach and some of the other coaches from ISU.
Well, the assistant head coach and a couple people affiliated with the athletic department, along with not only Terry, a businessman for owning the pub, but another businessman it was his plane, but they had an experienced pilot flying his plane, and it was it's unfortunate. Sad day in the old stomping grounds of Bloomington Normal. So,
yeah. Well, thoughts and prayers out to everybody. I mean, 7 people. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a tragedy. And they were talking about it on the pregame show for the White Sox. They mentioned it during the hockey game last night. So, we'll mention it. I mean, I kind of like you found the picture. That's pretty good.
Yeah, but a lot of the friends that I have down there have all changed their profile picture to this picture.
Oh, okay. Yeah, as a tribute. I like that. I like when people do stuff like that. And it was funny, too, because I was talking to Jill the other day about, renting a plane to go to some of these tournaments. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. You don't know, what are you going to do if you're on a VFR flight and all of a sudden, there's weather at your destination. Now what? Where are you going to go?
Right.
Stuff like that. And I've seen it happen.
But,
I've seen people
on the other
try
hand,
to...
I mean, they've done it thousands of times. I've flown in these little planes with him when I worked with him and for him and going to various Illinois State basketball events and all that stuff. I mean, he's, I'm sure he's never blinked an eye at doing it. He's been doing it for as long as he can remember, and
Yeah, I mean, it's just the GA crashes and all the problems with GA. I mean, jet. Like a Cessna Citation 550 or 650 or something, and he flies himself to tournaments, and I'm just like, well, hopefully you don't end up like Payne Stewart.
Yeah,
right. Learjet just flying north till it runs out of gas. I mean, I don't know. I'm not afraid to fly, but I used to be. I used to be really afraid of flying until I flew in the cockpit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then I realized the reason I was afraid of flying is because you can't see where you're going. But once you're up in the cockpit, you're like, oh, okay, well, now it's normal. I used to do the thing Bruce Willis did in the original Die Hard, like make a fist with your toes and stuff. Oh yeah, well, I almost always have my shoes off, but yeah, it's and I think it'd be fun to fly to tournaments. I mean, if I had to go to Milwaukee and grab a Cessna,
right?
And a Cessna 182 seats 4. I mean, how long does it take to fly to Chattanooga? couple hours.
That I would not know, but it can't take that long. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just sort of like
not even enough time for them to throw a bag of peanuts at you.
I mean, I think of it as being
You're up and down.
safer to fly in the Midwest because you don't have all this terrain, and terrain is what gets people in Southern California. So anyway, how depressing. But that would be fun.
So,
I wish we had like a traveling dart plane that could take
that would
fly
be pretty
people
cool.
around.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know one dart player who's like a pilot, who's got like his pilot certificate. I should ask around and see. Maybe somebody knows. Yeah. Speaking of Chattanooga, we have some news. The Americas Tour.
Mm-hmm.
What did you jot down there about the Americas Tour? The Darts Live Americas Tour is
You
starting.
got 7 spots for the Americas Tour. Stage 1 in Chattanooga are open. Or left, I should say.
And I think it's actually 6 because I think I saw somebody signed up. So if you want to go,
so since I wrote this down, somebody signed up.
Well, it looked like it. I don't know.
Was there a time frame for final signups?
Well, I think you better hurry because it's a week from this weekend, and it starts a week from Friday night, and it's the same venue that they have the Chattanooga Steel tournaments now. It's on the riverboat, which I heard is kind of cool.
And you finally found the prize money.
Yeah,
for
that was a little irritating. And yeah, okay, I'm not going to tell everybody how to run their business, especially Darts Live, because they do such wonderful stuff. But I was just sort of like, how is the prize money not here? I had to go click around, and I actually messaged them.
For about 5 minutes, you were sitting there complaining.
I'm like,
where is it?
Why would they not list it? And then they added a link about prize money, and there's the prize money. And it's actually, talk about burying the lead. If it's $3,000 to the winner, and $1,500 for second, and $1,000 for top 4, and $500 for top 8, and $250 for top 16, I would think you would want to communicate that right away.
How about giving everybody the info?
Yeah. By the way, and it may have been that they hadn't determined the prize money before they did the event or something. So they had to add it later. But I would think, and I just really briefly went through their Facebook page and I didn't see it. I mean, I would have that out front. Hey, there's money. Make it worth your while to go to Chattanooga. So they had a list of players, and it looked like a lot of good shots are going. And then I found, by accident, an exhibition that they're doing somewhere with.
I didn't hear you say this.
Well, yeah, because I was just sort of. It was like a last minute. I'm like, what is this? So let me see if I can find it, because it actually looked fairly interesting, and it looked to me
An
like
exhibition in Chattanooga.
No. It's something else completely different.
Oh, okay.
It's April 23rd, featuring pro players. But see, now we've talked about this on this show for years about how you really need to promote the players, right? Because I think that's how you get fans. And I know people have been like, people who regularly listen to the show are like, oh, hey, I know this name, I know that name, and it's kind of like, it builds and builds and builds. Now you've got Johnny K, Scotty Burnett, Benny Dersch, Tom Sawyer, and Trish Grezik, featured for the event, and I'm like, I like that. I think that works pretty well.
This? Red Eye Rhino,
Columbia, Illinois.
Wow.
It's got to be somewhere around St. Louis. But it's look at this. No cover darts exhibition. See? Because the one they did that I went to in November, that they did in whatever that town was on 39 south of Rockford. Rochelle, was it, maybe?
Yes,
I want to say.
yes.
And the Phoenix boards that had the same color scheme as as a regular steel tip dart board. Remember that? We showed pictures and everything. This might be like one of those things, but they did this exhibition where they had everybody shooting at the same time, and it was a race to see who could take 501 the first. So you stand back and you watch everybody do it, and it was actually one of the coolest things I've ever seen at a dart tournament. I was like, wow, I wish I was doing that. That looked like fun. So this looks like fun. April 23rd in Columbia, Illinois. So, no cover.
Yeah, it is down there by St. Louis.
Oh, did you? Oh, yeah. I figured it was.
Which I'm
somewhere around
surprised I haven't heard of it. I've been on that way a lot, but.
Well, yeah, you go to St. Louis a lot?
I used to play in softball tournaments down Alton, Illinois, which is really
right.
close.
That's across the river.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's some
Columbia
town.
can't be too far away from that, but.
Alton, Illinois is some town.
Yeah.
Ugh, gosh. All right. Let's take our first break. We'll come back. We'll talk some Premier League. You beat me.
Yeah,
You
finally.
beat me last week.
Woo-wee.
Hey, you're a winner. You're a winner. Chicken dinner. Chicken dinner. You listen to Dart Talk with Mystery Mark. Steve Ponciano. We'll be back in a minute.
Talk are those of the hosts. They in no way should be misrepresented, misinterpreted, or made to claim that the universe is against you, your family, your city, or the darting community at large.
Okay, back for the second quarter of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Yeah, you were asking how come I'm not going to play in this thing in Chattanooga, and it's basically, I had to shut it down because of the back.
Well, other than the fact that you can't stand upright
and,
for more than 2 minutes.
Well, when I thought about it, too, is I'm like, well, look, I can stand there, and I've watched guys tough it out. Like, I think it was in the World Championships last year, it might have been Mervyn King, it might have been somebody else who, had back trouble, and you just sort of stand there and you get the darts out of your hand and then suffer through it. I mean, it's I get this every 4 or 5 years. My back goes out because I'm bending over funny, moving furniture or something, which is exactly what happened. But I remember talking to a couple of people about if you're hurt, if you're actually hurt doing something, like my back went out, or I had this thing with my forearm. You have to be smart enough to not play. Because what invariably happens when you're injured is you will make adjustments to compensate for it, and you're going to get your stroke out of whack.
Sure.
Right? And, every reaction has an opposite reaction. How does that go?
Every action has an opposite and equal reaction.
Right. And so you make one adjustment here, but then you got to make an adjustment there and all this other stuff, and pretty soon, you're kind of out of whack. So I got Cleveland coming up. I'm supposed to play the first weekend in May, and I was planning on going down to Chattanooga, but now I'm like, well, gee whiz, I'm not sure like a 10-hour car ride is going to be the solution for a balky
back pillow.
Yeah. So
where's that masseuse that helped you out with your arm?
Yeah,
you need her.
Really. That would really help, actually. I mean, I don't know. Jill was asking me when was the first time this really happened, and it took me a while to remember that what actually happened was I got rear-ended. Going down,
ago?
A long time ago, in the 80s, middle 80s, like 86, 87, something like that. I just got rear-ended, and it just sort of tweaked my lower back and my neck, and it was like, you're 25. It's like, it's sore, don't worry about it. But pay for the damage to my Volvo,
Tell you what?
I had a Volvo wagon.
Oh.
I got from this dude, and I swear the only reason
I said Lovo.
No, a Volvo. The only reason I bought this car was it had a bumper sticker for Bodega Bay.
Okay.
Which is where that was the setting for Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, and I just was like, well, now this is cool. It was an actual station wagon, and it was an older one, and I was like, this is the coolest car, and I like station wagons. You get all this room behind your head. It feels like I don't know. Never mind. Okay, so the Premier League. Anyway,
Ooh, let's go to the
relegation
Premier
or
League.
judgment night. So relegated were Peter Wright and was it Hybrix?
Hybrix. Peter Wright and Hybrix.
I don't know. I thought Hybrix played as well as some of the guys that got through. Peter Wright, was just not bringing it. And it was kind of a weird way he got eliminated.
Yeah, their stats are pretty much the same.
Was he eliminated before he even played? Was he the last match on?
Who?
Peter Wright.
No, he.
Oh, no, and Van Barneveld was the last match
Van Barneveld and Gary Anderson and Peter Wright got eliminated because Van Barneveld had to lose, but he drew.
And he actually, he was out playing Gary Anderson. And so long, Peter. Let's run through the matches from last week.
All right.
And
well, you
what's
start
the
out.
first one?
You start
Van
out with
Gerwen?
MVG beating James Wade 7-4.
Yeah, and we're not really surprised by that.
No. Stats are pretty much the same, except for MVG was
more
chances at the doubles and a higher percentage.
Yeah, and MVG basically got up a break early. He blitzed them early, and just sort of maintained it.
Mm-hmm.
And Wade had a dart at 7-7 to make it 6-5 and get a whack at a tie, and he whiffed. And it's really that simple.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, their stats are the same, but Van Gerwen gave himself more shots at doubles, and that's why he won.
Right.
You're on 86. What are you going to do? You're gonna go trip 18. You're gonna go double bull. What are you gonna do on 86? You know what I mean? What does 48 get you? You don't want 48, do you?
No.
That leaves you 38.
Yeah.
So, you don't really want to do that. Was it trip 14 leaves?
Well, 86. Why wouldn't you be going trip 18?
Well, I'm saying that those are the only ways you can really
Yeah.
go. I can't think. There's another way to do it, but I can't remember what it is. Trip 12. What is trip 12?
86 would leave you 50, or trip 12 would leave you 50.
Okay, so you don't do
It's
that.
36, no.
14, 16,
So
8. Yeah.
14 would leave you 44, and 16 would leave you.
I can't think of it. There's another way to do
38.
it, but again, if you
well,
your percentage is higher going for the 18. That's what he did.
Or double bull, right?
Yeah, I don't mind going for double bull, but
Leaves
again,
you 61 if you hit a single.
Well, you run the risk of not having a clear shot at the double bull. If you hit a single, right, and then you throw a fat 11, do you have a clear look at the double bull?
Right.
I think that's an easier switch to go bull 11 bull and stay on the same plane than it is to go for the 18.
Sure, but you're like you said, you're almost guaranteeing yourself a really good look at the double bull if you go single 18. If you go
single 18,
single 18, and then you're guaranteed yourself a wide open look at the bull if you can't hit the triple.
Yeah, well, he parked the triple in there. So
for two clear at 32, and he missed.
Well, he hit the triple on a second dart.
Oh,
right. So
okay, so it's 68.
68, and then you hit it again.
14.
And you're on. Are you better off throwing the fat 18 there instead of the triple? I don't know. But
well, I would. Yeah, that's a tough call.
To have your life on the line and one dart in your hand and the double you're supposed to hit is 7. Those are the situations I personally try to avoid.
Right.
So Wade went down 7-4, closer than the score indicated, I guess is my point there.
Right.
But
we both picked MVG there, so we were.
Yeah, that wasn't any
right.
rocket science.
Then you got Phil Taylor against Dave Chisnell, and Phil Taylor goes down 4-7.
Woeful doubles on Taylor's part.
19 chances at it, he hit 4.
4 out of 19 from Phil.
A high finish of 50.
What is his deal? What is his deal? Unable to finish.
Only averages 93, which is not good for him. And
well, it would have been,
95.
probably closer to, if he hits a couple of doubles, he's probably in the high 90s.
Sure.
So,
But yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, he's
subpar
definitely
effort.
not happy about that 4 for 19.
Yeah.
Chizzy goes 7 for 14, throws 50%, and
if Dave Chisnell's going to run around hitting half his doubles, he's going to be scooting up in the rankings.
Yeah, neither one of them killed it on the tons and ton 40s and 80s, and but
I don't know. Chizzy's beaten him before. I think I've noticed this lately, is that, and this is the same thing with Tiger Woods, right? Where nobody's afraid of him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
There's this sort of aura that and people that go to tournaments maybe feel this, when one of the big guns walks in the room. where it's not like you're shrinking, but I mean, it's sort of like, uh-oh.
Yeah,
here comes the big name.
The difference between not fearing Tiger Woods anymore is the fact that even though Phil Taylor can play well, we've talked about, these guys are playing at a high level. You know, that he's beatable because these guys can now all of a sudden average 105 and hit doubles. Tiger Woods just isn't playing well.
Well,
he's ultimately beatable by everybody.
Yeah, I mean, he can't even. Phil
Taylor can still beat anybody.
Well, he hasn't been though.
Well, I know, but he can.
Yeah,
throw the darts to do it.
You know, finishing in darts is like a short game in golf, where somebody, Dottie Pepper. I mean, I don't know whether to take her seriously or not. Is over there saying Tiger Woods has the yips on his chipping, and I'm like,
well, he did that one round. I mean, it was pretty brutal, but that doesn't mean
I just laughed, and I'm like, woman, there's an interview you're not going to get. But if Phil's going to start having the yips on his doubles, right? And it only takes a little bit of just that little doubt in your mind that you're going to miss a double, and invariably you will. All you need is a little bit of doubt in your mind, like you missed it. You have two darts at it, and the first one didn't feel right, and it missed, and
Yeah.
And normally, I think, for years and maybe over a decade, Phil would just be like, oh, next one's going in, and pop, there it is, right?
Plus, he used to have such a big lead anyway, it didn't really matter if he missed.
Yeah. And I mean, Woods, Woods was like that with the putter. I mean, how many times have you seen the guy make a bomb?
Not only that,
on the 17th hole or something.
Not only that, he literally, his stats were like, at one point he had missed one putt within 3 feet out of 1,000.
Yeah.
And that the average isn't even close to that. I mean, it's like, the average is still like, 70%, or, people are going to be missing 3-footers, and he never missed a 3-footer.
No.
And those are the putts you have to make to save par, blah, 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 all that
stuff.
And
some of those 3-footers aren't that easy.
No.
You're side hill, 4 inches of break.
Out of
whatever.
1,000 putts, I guarantee you, there is a lot of those. And you have to make those just like you have to hit your doubles to close it out.
Nobody has been more automatic on a double than Phil. And for that to suddenly disappear, I don't know.
And then the doubt comes into your head.
At some point, when you keep missing and you keep missing and you keep missing, you're going to start wondering what the heck's going on here.
Right.
So that may be Phil's problem.
All right, so then we move on to the Stephen Bunting Hybrix match, which Hybrix had to win to not get relegated.
Right. This was one of those because Bunting was in danger too.
You picked a draw, and I picked Taylor in that match, so we both got a loss there.
Got a loss.
Bunting and Hybrix go to a 6-6 tie.
Which I believe was your pick.
I picked the draw.
You picked the draw this week.
You took Hybrix.
Yeah. Oh, well.
So, that was this was a close match. They're both everything's pretty much even.
Yeah, what was the doubles thing?
33% for Hybrix, 30% for Bunting.
But Bunting got
two more shots at it.
Two more shots at a double.
Both hit 6.
Yeah. Well,
both averaged 94 and
yeah, not a whole. You throw a blanket over them. I mean, they played each other even, and that was good enough for Bunting to get through. Who won the last leg? Did Hybrix have a whack at it?
Bunting.
So Hybrix was up 6-5. Okay, you're reading there. Okay, that's why the pre-show watching baseball's not recommended.
Well, no, actually, Hybrix won the last one.
So not enough. Against the throw. Act of total desperation. I wonder if he knew he was out if he lost. Or that he needed to win as opposed. You know what I mean?
Okay, let me correct that. No,
okay.
Hybrix, who started up 3-0.
Oh, dear.
The first 3. And then 1-3, 1-4, 2-4, 3-4, 3-5, 4-5, 4-6. So he was up 4-6 and lost the last 2. Hybrix did.
Well, he had it on his racket. I don't know if that would have saved him or not. It might have. I can't remember. It was like weird. It was like there were 5 guys that could have been relegated, or 4. It was Barney.
It was 5 last week. We were talking. There were
Barney,
5
Wright,
guys.
Hybrix, and Bunting, I think, were the guys at the bottom. So compelling, anyway.
Yeah. So Hybrix is probably kicking himself a little. He's up. I don't know exactly what would have happened if he won that match. Would he still have been relegated? Because
I'd have to look at. You got to look at the table and see what Bunting ended up with.
Right.
But I don't know. I guess my opinion of Hybrix compared to what it was like at the beginning of the year, he's gone up. Even though he's relegated, he's really gone up in my opinion as far as like me thinking of him as an elite player. Because when they put him in there, I was kind of like, really? But I'm kind of glad they did. There's a couple of guys I'm kind of tired of watching. I never want to see Andy Hamilton. I don't know. I feel like something's wrong. Okay,
right.
So what was the next
one? So then
one?
we got Adrian Lewis against Peter Wright. Lewis wins 7-4. We both picked Lewis in that one. Not much to say other than...
Yeah, I mean, Peter Wright is like really, his game is just not where it needs to be.
Lewis out-doubled him, outshot him.
Out everything. Yeah. I mean, he was averaging...
Peter Wright did hit a ton 70, though.
Oh, well, that's nice. It's weird. I mean, he was averaging like close to 100 for 4 or 5 months last year, and that's just all gone away.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. He's gonna have to work it out, and he won't have to worry about playing Premier League matches for the next I don't know how many weeks.
Right.
Yeah. So
right.
He's out. Too bad. We like him.
And we both took Lewis in that one. So
yeah.
And then your last one is Gary Anderson, Van Barneveld, which it says that. Well, that came to a draw, which is what eliminated Peter Wright.
Right.
Van Barneveld had to lose for Peter Wright to move on, and Van Barneveld drew. He had the option of drawing or winning to move on.
And he was pretty much ahead the whole way. I think, was it 4-4 at some point? It looked like Barney. I just
3-3.
Looked at it briefly.
It was 3-3.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I just can't see, of those 10 players, I just can't see Barney being one of the
Van
bottom two.
Van Barneveld was up 6-4, so he was already automatically in with the two games or matches remaining. So,
and he probably knew that as soon as he got 6, he was done. He might have kind of shut it down. I mean, it's kind of weird. I mean, you want to win
Anderson
and everything.
Opens with 2-ton 80s, so I'm sure he probably said, okay. That'll be 5-6. No, I don't have to worry.
I don't know if he ended up with a 10-darter or not, but I just, the way these guys are playing is just, it gets sick sometimes watching, especially Anderson and Van Gerwen, although the last couple of weeks Van Gerwen hasn't been quite as spectacular.
Right.
He has his moments. Okay, let's take a break.
We both took Anderson on that, so this was my first win against you.
Okay, so let's run real quick. I think we're running long. Let's do the picks. Let's do the picks for next week, and then we'll take a break.
All right, so you got Lewis against Wade.
Lewis against Wade. Well, I don't know. I'll take a draw. I don't know. I don't know who to pick there.
I'm going to go with Wade.
Okay.
But draw.
I don't know that he's in any better form than
you got
80.
Anderson against Chizzy.
I don't know. I'll take Anderson.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna.
Chizzy may burn me on this one, but I'll take Anderson there.
You got Phil Taylor against Van Barneveld, who seems to be.
Yeah, it's one of those things where...
I just have a hard time picking against Taylor, but eventually you have to, right?
Yeah, except that it seems to me he's always got Raymond's number. It seems to me he's in the guy's head, and that, when they play each other, Taylor has way more confidence than Barney does. And, as much as Barney gets criticized and stuff like that, I think mentally Taylor's stronger. I don't know what's the deal is with the doubles lately, so I'll take Phil.
All right, I'm going to actually take RVB.
Okay. That'll be an interesting. I was tempted to go draw there.
Then you got Bunting against Van Gerwen.
What are the odds?
Van Gerwen, the
7-0.
heavy favorite.
Yeah.
2-5.
There's some article about Bunting wanting to make top 4, and it's like, well, of course you do. But, you got to beat, half these guys. And I don't, I think he's pretty much at the bottom of the list right now. Yeah, I'll take Van Gerwen.
All right, me too. And then your last match would be that doesn't make any sense.
No, because you
it.
start. No. There's another one. There's Chizzy and Wade. Yeah, they do this stuff in the Premier League. Sometimes you kind of have to do double matches and stuff, depending on guys. Like last year, I think Wes Newton was sick, so they kind of work work something out. So they're both playing 2 matches. So Chizzy and Wade.
Chizzy and Wade will play a second round match or whatever you want to call it. But yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
See, I'd like to see whether Wade beat Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of picking him blind. I'll take Chizzy only because he's got less of a weight than Wade. And I think, I don't know. Could be a gentleman's draw there, too.
Yeah.
I'll take Chizzy, though. I ain't taking Wade.
You know what? I will take a draw on that.
Yeah, I think that to me, at the end of the night, a draw there would not surprise me. Okay, we're going to come back. We're going to take a short break, and then you're going to review the Eric Bristow practice rings. I'm interested to hear this. So
okay.
We'll be back in a flash with prizes and cash. You're listening to Dart Talk. We'll be right back.
Dart Talk agrees to adhere to the Geneva Convention in treating fairly its prisoners in their war against lackluster darting administration and behaviour.
Okay, back for the second half of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, anybody want to update the White Sox game in the chat room? Mark's dying to know how
that would be nice.
beloved White Sox are doing. I'm not going to say I'm rooting for the Royals, but I'd be perfectly happy with the Cubs having a 1-game lead on the White Sox at the end of the day. Okay,
After
so
2 games of the season.
The Eric Bristow's peeps sent us the dart
they
practice rings. We showed them on the show a couple weeks ago. They're different colors, different sizes, and you put them on the board and incorporate that into your practice routine.
Right.
Okay, so how'd that go?
They didn't impress me very much. They're very obtrusive. I mean, they just stand out, which I get. That's what you want, but they're very thick. You aim for them. There's bounce outs because
you're hitting the wire of the.
You're hitting the wire of the plastic ring.
Is it rubber or is it like hard plastic?
It's hard plastic.
Like the wires on a soft tip board.
It's beveled, so it's supposed to hit it, but it's still got that.
Well, it's
rim,
yeah,
ridge. So it's beveled, so it's supposed to go in. But overall, I just found that you're better off, when you're practicing and you need to hit a single 20 or a single 18, whatever it is, and you find that one little spot on the board from a dart tip earlier that's easier to aim at than this ring. Part of the Bristow dart thing is you're supposed to set it up for certain outs. Like if you want to take 127, so you put a bit bigger ring on the around the triple 20 and the single 20, in the middle of it, because if you hit this and then you put the ring, so you're supposed to practice it, throwing at that ring, throwing at that ring, throwing at that ring.
Okay.
And get yourself used to that progression. But to me, it just felt like you're over aiming. It's like you want to get used to like throwing complete darts, and maybe to me, I actually thought it might be a better tool for better dart players that throw better groupings than me, that aren't as erratic, because like if you have a small ring inside the single 20, like you take the second smallest ring and you put it inside the triple 20, or the single 20, I should say, it's like instead of working, somebody like me that's just going to work on hitting 3 consistent single 20s, now all of a sudden you're aiming at this really small target and trying to stick it in there. It just didn't bode well for me, but I think a more experienced darter might be able to use it better than I was. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I could guess that, and maybe we should have these guys come on the show and explain how maybe you're not using them right. I mean, it seems to me, when I look at the one dart that I see most people miss is the fat setup dart.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you have 57 with 2 darts in your hand, or 58 with 2 darts in your hand, and you need to hit a fat 17 or a fat 18, those are the darts I see people miss.
Right.
And I see them miss all the time. And I remember Terry Jenkins telling me this years ago. That's the dart that all the pros miss, because you don't practice them.
Mm-hmm.
You don't practice hitting a fat this or a fat that. So I don't know why you would want to use the little ring in the fat part of the 20. You should put like a bigger ring in there. But
well, sure. I was trying to do different things. Like you put the fat ring in the 18, and you put the second fattest ring in the 19. But then eventually you go down. Well, you're not going to put the smallest ring, which is exactly the size of a double bull, around the double bull. I mean, you're already aiming at that.
Yeah.
So where do you put the smallest ring? So you
over the double, I would think.
Okay, but but it's wider than the double. You know what I mean? It would almost be like
but I think reading like, and I must confess I didn't pour over it, but I did kind of skim it. Was the idea is to help you visualize what you're aiming at.
Yeah,
and
right. But if you have a ring over a double 20, you're visualizing higher and lower than a double 20 at the same time. You know what I mean?
You're going for the middle of the ring. So I think the idea is when you play without the ring, it's easier for you to focus in on what you're going to be aiming at.
But in that aspect, I would think I would prefer then you make the ring the exact size of the double 20. I don't know. But like I said, it just for some reason, and then the bounce outs were annoying, and then you throw it at the ring, and it's held by one little plastic tip dart, and it hits the ring, and the ring flops around.
Well, don't hit it. I mean, it seems to me that you're supposed to start with the bigger ones until you master those, and then start going smaller. I think that's where, depending on the level of your ability, and that may change, from day to day. You might be sharper one day than another day. You just be like, today I'm going to a bigger ring.
That's why I say I think it's to me, it seemed like it was better for a higher quality player than me. I think, generally for
based on the size of rings you were using, though. See, if you would have just went to bigger rings, then it seems like you would have eliminated the problems you're talking about. Right? If you're hitting the wire of a ring and then you just put a bigger ring on, then in theory, you shouldn't hit the wire anymore.
No, not necessarily. You're talking about a player that that sometimes misses by 2 inches.
Well, but see, here's the thing. See, you don't. But I mean, how many people? And I'll ask you this, flat out. How often have you said I'm going to work on my grouping today?
Right. No.
Right. I mean, that's not something. Right. Never. Well. That was, I can't remember, it might have been Larry Butler, but I don't want to get yelled at if I'm wrong. But I thought he had a thing where he would hit 2 of every double.
Yeah, you
2 out of
told me
3 of
that
every double and
somebody's
move
done
around.
that. Right.
And that's one way he works on his grouping.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea behind working on your grouping is to get 3 darts in the same spot.
Right.
So you're repeating your stroke all 3 times, and that takes a little bit of dedication. That takes a little
Sure.
bit of practice for you to kind of do that. And if all you do is kind of just play legs and just play games, you're never really going to be able to do that. So if you look at like an electronic player, they're all in love with like white horses. They're in love with like, oh, look, I got a little picture because I hit 3 different triples. But if I go trip 20, trip 19, I don't get the picture. I don't care.
Right.
Right? I'm not, I don't need the little spark of the little white horse thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like all these little kind of feel-good gimmicks. Like Windy City, we have sheet shots, right? That never, from like day one, made sense to me. I was on 171. I threw 2 triples and a single to leave me 131, and I'm like, hey, I got a sheet shot. And they're like, no, you didn't. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, it starts at 132. And I'm like, well, why?
Right.
I mean, I can't take out 171. The best thing I could do is leave a double, and that's what I did. And you're telling me that's not a sheet shot? I gave up. I was like, well, this is just dumb.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Right? So, when it comes to practicing on grouping, I thought those rings were going to come in really handy, and I actually recommended them to Jill. And she hasn't had time to try them out yet. She's been working all the time. But it's like, you should be able to take the fat ring, park it somewhere, and put 3 darts in there with regularity. And once you're doing that with regularity, it seems to me you could put the next smallest size in there and park them in there with regularity until you get to a ring where you're struggling with it, and that's the ring you use. And if you have to, throw 3 in that ring on the fat 20 and then move it to the 19 and throw 3 in that one and then move it there and 3 in that one.
Right.
Some of the more advanced stuff they're
I don't necessarily
recommending.
disagree with that, but I'm just also saying that, if you can do that without the rings. You could sit there, I'm going to park 3 in the fat 17, and I'm not moving on until I do it 9 times in a row.
Well, you could. But I think it's more challenging to throw them all in the center of the fat than it is to just throw 3 in there and, okay, that one's on that wire, that one's on that wire, one's in the middle, but they all count. I'm moving on. See, it's forcing you to be more precise. And believe it or not, I mean, that is the game. The game is precision.
Right.
When your margin of error is the width of a wire.
Oh, I absolutely don't disagree with that.
There's no margin for
like
error.
I said, I guess the overall biggest problem I had with it, though, is it's so obtrusive. It's so much bigger. The ring is bigger than just looking at that,
Well, okay.
that angle of the triple 17 or whatever.
Right.
Now you have this circle that even the biggest one, it fits perfectly in the center of it.
So it pulled your focus.
Yeah. I had a hard time,
It's like if you have a picture.
Instead of staring at the middle of the triple or the single 17.
Exactly. Right.
I see this whole round thing.
And so you can't focus to the point where you're ignoring the ring. All you're doing is seeing the ring. It's the same thing on the old boards that we don't really use much anymore, but on the boards with the triangular wires, after they get used to wire and the wires get flattened, you get this shiny strip that's above and below the target, right? And it's really hard to not focus on the shiny strip, but to focus on the fleck in between the shiny strips.
Right.
And if you don't learn how to do that, you're going to have a problem. The same way, like, people prefer, one soft tip machine to another soft tip machine, and then they go to the one that they're not familiar with, and the bells and whistles are different, literally. Right?
Sure.
It makes a different sound when you hit this, and it does this, and, I don't like that. I like it this way. I mean, I get, people get used to something, right? But this is forcing you now to go kind of beyond that. This, my take on it, is to go beyond that and force you to focus on what you're trying to hit and then hit it.
Right.
But it's kind of weird. I had this weird thought. Where are we on time?
Well, we're almost due for a break.
Okay.
Let
me run this by you real quick.
Just real quick, I wouldn't disagree with you. I mean, obviously, it depends on how much practice time you have at the board and how much time you have. And obviously, if you have a lot of time to devote to, you actually have to have a lot of time to devote to sit there and working on your grouping, as opposed to if you only have 40 minutes.
Well,
by the time you warm up and
if you only have 40 minutes, that's all you should do is just get
Right.
loose and relax. You know what I mean? If that's all you're going to do, you can't practice in 40 minutes. It'll mess you up. You're there to play. Get your arm loose, get comfortable,
and at least you threw
and
some darts.
then just okay, let's go, let's play.
Right.
You do the best you can. But it seems to me, it's kind of weird. I mean, some people, like, I'm trying to think if it was Steve Brown, is like basically I don't aim. So I was thinking about this watching the basketball. Wisconsin lost to Duke.
Is this what you were gonna
Congratulations to
run by
Duke.
me?
Yeah.
Okay.
When you shoot a free throw, and I've heard a lot of people say throwing a dart is like shooting a free throw. When you're shooting a free throw, you don't aim. You don't look at the ball and where the ball is and everything. It's all entirely hand-eye coordination. You stare at the basket or you stare at the back rim.
Whichever front rim,
whichever, and you shoot it. Right? People who play pool or play golf have to aim. And it's an entirely different deal. And I don't know, when I say Americans, when you throw like an American, people that bring the dart back past their eye and all this stuff, obviously it's all hand-eye coordination, which is what you do when you throw a baseball or you play basketball. It's very American to throw and not aim. That's all the sports we play growing up. But I wonder if in Europe, especially in England, if they're aiming right off the bat.
See, I don't know. As quick as they throw, I don't see how they aim.
Well, you aim by setting up your pre-shot routine.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you set up. But, I mean, they can see their dart in their eye, and they can see the target, right? Oh, I just hit my glasses. You know what I'm saying? If you look at Gary Anderson, he brings the dart below his eye, which means he can see the dart and the target. I've seen guys, like, literally line up their flight where it's a perfect – okay, where's the camera? Like it's a perfect tee.
Yeah.
Right? And then they use the top fin for alignment. I've seen guys do that. Americans generally don't do that, though. And I wonder if, like, maybe these rings, they should still work anyway, because even if you're just relying on hand-eye coordination, you need to be able to focus on what you're aiming at.
Sure.
Right? So that's why I was thinking that the rings should be good. So you didn't really like them. You thought they were too obtrusive, and they didn't really seem to help.
Right.
I'll try them out.
I mean, like I said,
I'm going to start practicing with my back.
I didn't really think they were that. I didn't really like them, but my take on them was I think a better dart player, more consistent dart player, might be able to use them to rein in. It's kind of more it's kind of more frustrating when you're going there and practicing and warming up and you're missing the singles anyway. But then when all of a sudden you have even if it's a big ring and you're missing, which turns out to be a smaller target than what you're aiming for to begin with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And it could be a little more frustrating, and it's like that's why I think now granted maybe 4 years ago when I was better, and it would have zoned me in a little more than it is now. But I'm trying to get back to where I was before, and I just I don't have as much time. I don't throw as many darts a day as I used to.
You get frustrated easily when you miss. You're always so laid back and stuff on the show, but you slam your darts down and stuff. I mean, you get like angry, almost when you miss, and I don't know. It just seems out of character for you. It's weird. I don't know. All right, we're gonna take a break and we'll finish up the show. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mystery Mark. Steve Ponsiamo will be right back. This will be a short break.
and forevermore warn that you consume this show at your own risk, and that Dart Talk cannot be brought to justice in any court or by any government, including and not restricted to the grand spaghetti monster of the Triple 20.
Okay, back for the fourth quarter at Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. That is my favorite bumper, by the way, Jeff. I don't know why, it just is. And I don't even remember. If you can remember what that is, email me the chords. I haven't played in a long time. I don't even have strings on my Gibson right now. They've been off for like forever. There's a couple of things that we didn't get to a couple weeks ago that thank goodness you wrote them down because I totally forgot. One of them is like, what is because it kills me when I hear people use the wrong terminology. Like I was telling you about the guy who didn't know what a pick was.
Yes.
Like,
nice pick.
Yeah, nice pick. So I had to explain that's not a pick, dude.
Right.
You know, it's like, okay, there's this thing called a cover shot.
Single 20, trip 20. Nice pick.
You know, and I'm the kind of guy that, you know, I don't know. I think of things so directly and so matter-of-factly, and then I communicate them that way, and then sometimes people get offended. Or I don't mean to make people feel stupid. I'm just sort of like, where'd you learn this from? You know what I mean? So I get that reaction sometimes. But the hero shot thing we were talking
Which
about
was like 3
driving
weeks ago.
after,
it was
after the show.
Yeah.
I don't remember how it came up.
It came up because of the soft tip tournament, the 16 players,
Oh yeah.
was the name
Yeah. Okay, and it
Larry
was an
Butler
0-1
lost,
game, and
somebody in the chat posted that Lawrence Hilligan beat Larry Butler in the qualifiers on a hero shot.
but it was like a something out,
taking a 132 out.
Yeah,
and it's exactly what he had to do. He explained himself about it, but that wasn't the point of him. It was like we wanted to discuss actually
what is a hero shot?
What is a hero shot?
All right, what's your understanding then? What is a hero shot?
Depending on what you're playing by hero shot is, you have an 0-1 game, you got 50 points left, more than 2 darts in your hand, and you go for the double bull. Depending on the point situation in a cricket match, you've got 1 dart left in your hand, and you're going to go for a trip 15 to close and win it, but really hitting another bull because you have them closed would make your opponent hit X amount more. You know what I'm saying? The hero shot to me is like trying to win with a dart that really, if you lose the game, but you can extend the game with throwing the correct way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, like, in 0-1, I don't know that there is a hero shot. I get the bullseye thing. I mean, sometimes I'm on 64 and I'll try to go double 16, but I've got a big lead and I'm just challenging myself to hit something harder. I mean, I don't.
No, that's what I'm
like
saying. I'm saying the hero shot is more like if you miss it, you really
suffer.
give your opponent a great chance of winning.
Yeah, going for the bull with like 2 or 3 darts in your hand and you're on 50. That's the road to ruin. And
then you have 25, and then
that's
the road.
That's the road to ruin.
You just giving your opponent a chance instead of extending the game or giving yourself a way better chance of winning by.
It's and then in cricket, it's kind of like when you got 1 dart in your hand and you can either close or point, and the book, our book anyway, or most people's books say point, but then you throw 1 dart to try to close, and if you happen to hit it, well, you're a hero and it's a great shot, and if you miss it, basically the dart's wasted because you're still going to throw it to triple to close it next time, so the dart gives you no value. Right,
and gives your opponent just a huge advantage to increase their lead. And then now what are you looking at?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of weird. Like if you go second in a cricket game and the guy's got the 20s on you, at some point you got to close them. I will try to close them sometimes if I'm behind less than a bull or 2 because I think I can make that up later. You can't win a game unless you close them. So.
True.
I don't really consider that a hero shot. I think it's more along the lines of like you've got the 20s, and instead of pointing on the 20s and maintaining them, you try to either jump ahead and hit another triple or go close their number or something like that. I mean, and there are players that kind of do that regularly or attempt it anyway, and those are hero shots. And eventually, you have some of these guys, maybe early in their career had a couple of good weeks where it was working out, and they think that that's the way to play, and they just keep doing it. And it's like, please keep doing it.
I guess that would that would solidify my definition of a dart shot that if you miss gives your opponent a way better chance of winning.
Yeah, and that's what Darren did. That's exactly what Darren did when he lost in the Super Darts in Japan. When he had the 17s, instead of pointing, he tried to close the 16s and jump ahead a number, threw it into the 7, and got rained on. Just got rained on because of it. And it's like, hey, you don't want to take advantage of your advantage.
If you hit that trip 17, you don't get.
I have no sympathy for
It's hard to rain on you.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the hero shot thing, and then
I was going to ask you if you'd seen that DirecTV ads with Rob Lowe that are actually very amusing.
Oh, like the peaked in high school Rob Lowe and the arm hair,
the skinny
curtain.
Rob Lowe and
skinny arms Rob Lowe.
Skinny arms Rob Lowe, and then the buff.
Those are
Rob
funny.
Lowe.
Yeah, I like those.
They actually got pulled. DirecTV is pulling them.
Really?
Because Comcast, their competitor, complained enough that they can't prove what they're stating in the commercials are true. And apparently it worked enough where DirecTV now has to pull these commercials.
Yeah, okay. Well, look, I mean, advertising has changed. I mean, in the last couple of years, you see a lot more ads knocking the competitors. You never used to see that. It was like the unwritten rule in advertising that it was like, you don't denigrate the competition, you just talk about how your stuff is good. And if there's some oblique reference to, whatever, that was okay. Now it's like all in out war. Like with the Apple and the PC tablets, like side-by-side comparisons, the Android against the Apple. I mean, it's like open season on Apple.
Yeah, but if it's like you're number one, you don't say anything about your competition. But if you're anything below number one, you have to degrade your competition.
Well, it never used to be that way. I mean,
Kinda like
Heinz
politics.
is what ketchup tastes like. I mean, it wasn't like they were bashing Hunt's brothers.
Right.
I don't like ketchup anyway. But you see what I'm saying? I mean, that kind of thing is changing. But the funny thing is, I remember, talking to Scotty Burnett, like literally, we'd been doing the show like 6 months, and I went to Vegas for the Open, and he said, look, man, he's like, you don't have to bash something else. You could just, say how good something else is. And I'm like, yeah, I could, but we don't have to do that. I mean, we can just give our opinions, and I don't think we should be really kind of soft-shoeing over stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, I haven't gone on a rant in a long time, but it's sort of like you need to call a spade, for this show anyway. I mean, it doesn't mean we have to use curse words, but you know what I mean? So, I mean, those were funny. Peaked in high school,
they were funny.
Rob
It was
Lowe,
too
and
bad.
he moves his trophies in front of the wires and the TV. I mean, I'm surprised DirecTV didn't just stand up to him and just be like, too bad.
I didn't read
Make
the whole.
your own ad.
I mean, I didn't read the 2-page article, but the gist of it was that they caved into the fact that Comcast put up a good enough argument that
Comcast owns like NBC, and DirecTV broadcasts those channels. So I mean, there's some weird conflict of interest there somewhere. I mean, it's a mess now.
Right.
Comcast is huge. They've like taken over all the wires going into most of the homes in America. I mean, we went to DirecTV and in our condo building.
You're right. You didn't have a say. But.
Yeah. So I mean, the only thing is, I lost the Red Zone.
I know.
I hate
That's
that.
Upsetting.
NFL Red Zone is like the best channel
fantastic.
on earth, man.
Yeah.
Couple of shout outs. Good luck to all the 88 players in Hong Kong. I guess there's an 88 tournament. And then
that's this weekend?
A belated happy birthday to Sarah that apparently was not, I didn't get to it on the show last week.
True.
So happy birthday,
I
Sarah.
Think
happy 18th.
People would blame me for not getting to it. But
I'm perfectly
Sarah,
willing to take the rap. I'm supposed to do the shout outs, and I usually have them written down. And
Sarah's 18th birthday was April 1st.
So if it's Sweet 16, what do they call 18? Is there a nickname for
Adulthood,
that?
I guess.
I remember when.
Free from your parents.
Are you legal? Is that what it is? At
Yeah.
18, you can technically, you're emancipated or something?
That's
okay.
Free. The birthday of free.
Ever heard of a boomerang kid? I think everybody knows what that is.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, I believe she had a good birthday, and
you got to try those practice rings again. Use
I
the
did.
bigger ring and see if it helps.
I'm not going to throw them in the circular file. I mean, I'll try them again. Like I said,
okay. I'm going to try them out.
I tried them a couple times. It's not like I had 3 hours of practice time. I mean,
God, you only got 2 jobs and a girlfriend, man.
I know, right? So how much time do I have? I should be throwing darts every spare second I got. And it's also a little distracting, actually. Seriously, trying to throw darts with 2 cats.
Oh, the kittens are awesome.
Seriously, yesterday, the cat jumped from the printer up to the dartboard, fell and grabbed onto the outer ring and was hanging on the ring with the numbers.
Man, that's so
for
cool.
About
was that
10 seconds.
Was that Mitz?
Yeah, for about 10 seconds.
Mitz has hops.
And the thing is just bending down, and Mitz does has hops. Oh, she got up, so she went for the dartboard and couldn't grab anything, and as she fell down, it was like Die Hard when he falls down the grate and grabs onto the and that's what she did. All of a sudden, boom, she just stuck on it. So, I might have to lock them up for half hour with some food, some water, and let me throw darts in peace.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of. Yeah, I mean, they're kittens. I mean, eventually they'll get. I've never seen 2 kittens have more fun playing King of the Cardboard Box than I did on Sunday. That was absolutely hilarious. I could have watched that for an hour and a half. That was better than anything that was on TV.
But I definitely, I've tried them twice. I will try it again. I'm not going to just give up on them. I just right now I wasn't overly impressed with them. But like I said, I think my opinion. I decided that a better player might like them more than me, but I will definitely. I will definitely keep them by my dartboard and keep trying to. And like you said,
we'll do an update.
Try them in different fashions than when I've tried them.
And
now.
Also, the thing is, the real test of it is how you play after practicing with them when they're not on the board. Right. I think that's really the test.
Sure.
So we'll get back to it. So we'll call that an incomplete review. And then next week, I'm going to try this guy from, I think his name, I can't remember his name. He gave me his card. This guy in Virginia Beach wanted us to have some sort of like the State of Darts in America roundtable kind of thing.
Oh, really?
So I'm going to try to set that up maybe for next week. And then we got some other stuff we could talk about. We talk about how my back's better. Back problems are the worst. They just are.
No. There's so much you can't do when your back hurts.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to whine about it on the show, but I'd be happy to be healthy. I haven't been healthy. My season. I just haven't been healthy this season. And I can't do anything about it. I can't practice until I'm better. So
yeah, you're overpaid and undervalued.
I'm overpaid. All right, thanks everybody for listening. We'll hang out in the chat for a little while, and then we'll be back at our usual time, 8:30 Central next week, 9:30 Eastern. Don't forget you can email the show, darttalk@gmail.com, if you've got questions or concerns or comments. And
have a beer in honor of the pub too.
The pub too, and was it Terry?
Terry Strelo and his family.
Okay. Thoughts and condolences and prayers to those guys, and we'll dart talk to you guys next week. Everybody take care.